welcome back to another video. Today is going to be kind of a book recommendations video, but really I'm just going to talk about my favorite underrated series, so things that I haven't necessarily heard people talk about on the internet specifically. I know some of these are really popular and maybe I just missed the time period of the internet where they were talked about a lot. But regardless, I just wanted to share all of these with you because they are some of my favorites and I think that they deserve to be more people's favorites. Okay, so the first series I'm going to talk about is the Gone series by Michael Grant, which I do know is very popular. However, I do know a lot of people that haven't read it. So these are in here. This is the first book. There's 6 books in the main series and then 3, I believe 3 now, in a companion series that happens kind of after the events of the first series. I've read some of those, but I haven't finished it yet. But my biggest recommendation is the original series. So these books do have a very large cast of characters, but debatably the main characters are Sam and Astrid. So they are living in a small town in California when one day a mysterious dome appears and everyone who is 15 or older is teleported out of the dome. So all that's left is children. It's kind of like a Lord of the Flies, wow, situation at that point, because obviously they need to fight to survive. These are a bunch of kids who don't know what they're doing. To add to that, some of the kids start developing weird powers, and there's a mysterious kind of enemy out there in the wilderness. Animals are mutating, and there's just a lot going on. So they get really, really intense and quite dark. But that is kind of the basic plot. I reread these almost every year and they always put me in like a reading slump because they're just so good and so impactful, particularly the last book, that I just can't force myself to read anything else for a little bit. But don't let that scare you away from reading them, obviously, because they're super good. The characters are just amazing. It's written more in like a middle grade kind of style, but there's a lot of super dark themes in the book as well. And all of the different kind of debates and questions that it explores are a little bit more adult. So I would say it is young adult, but I think anyone would love these. I would love to see a TV show or a movie of these books. I think it would be amazing. So this is probably my top recommendation from this video, although I might say that for all of them. So okay, next up is the Great Library series. So the books that I have here are Ink and Bone, Paper and Fire, Ash and Quill, and Sword and Pen. I think I'm missing one called Smoke and Iron. They're by Rachel Kane, and they are kind of dystopia, kind of alternate history, and kind of fantasy. So I haven't reread these in a while. I don't think I've actually even finished the whole series, but from what I remember, these are set in an alternate kind of Earth where the Great Library of Alexandria was never burned down, and it's kind of like the ruling power over all of Earth now. So they control all the knowledge in the world and the ownership of every book. Specifically follow a boy named Jess who goes to a school where he's trying to basically work for the Great Library, and he meets other students. While he's there, chaos ensues. I have always been fascinated by the concept of the Great Library of Alexandria, so that was the main thing that drew me to these, and I love a good dystopia. The cast of characters is super diverse, so there's someone for everyone to relate to, and it's just, if you love books, you should love this because it's basically a book about books. And it's really, really cool. I'm actually very excited to finish the series and I'm planning to read them in the next couple months for sure. Okay, next up is an adult series, and these are really, really popular, but I don't see them a ton on YouTube. And that is the Neapolitan Chronicles by Elena Ferrante. This follows 2 girls who are growing up in a really rough neighborhood in Naples in, I believe, the 1950s. Their names are Lila and Elena. And there's not so much a plot of these books as it is just following their lives from early childhood to the end, basically. You read everything from Elena's perspective, and the story and the setting are amazing, but what I particularly love about these books is how accurately they capture female emotion and female friendships. These also put me in a book hangover. I reread them all the time, and I can't even like move on from them. There is also an HBO show of these, which I'm planning to watch, but I need to be prepared to cry, so I haven't gotten there yet. But these are just, they're stunning writing, even though it's translated from Italian. They're originally written in Italian. And the translator, I believe, is Anne Goldstein. But yeah, these are amazing. If you're not a young adult person, this would definitely be my top recommendation from this video. Okay, the next series is the Songs of Pandora by Alison Croghan, and this is a fantasy series that I've never heard anyone else talk about, and they are one of my top favorites of all time. So the first book is the naming, and then we've got the riddle, the crow, and the singing. Obviously, the plot in the world kind of gets a lot bigger from the first book, but what we follow here is a slave girl named Myrad who gets rescued from where she's living as a slave by a mysterious man named Cadvan, discovers that she might have some powers of her own and she might in fact be the chosen one. So if you hate books about the chosen one, this probably might not be for you because that's the main theme of it, but they're super compelling characters. The world is very well developed and amazing. She actually writes them as if she's like found the archives of this ancient world that used to exist and is writing about them as a fiction. So that's kind of fun too. It's a little bit of a different twist. Okay, next up we have a trilogy by Libba Bray. She is super popular for the Diviners books, and she's got a couple standalones as well. But I believe this was her first series, and I really love them. I believe it's called, I don't actually know what the name of the series is. Wow. Gemma Doyle Trilogy. Maybe that's it. I'll put it on the screen. But the first book is A Great and Terrible Beauty. The second is Rebel Angels, and the third is The Sweet Fry Thing. These are a really good read for fall because they're set in a school setting. They follow a British girl named Gemma who's been living in India and comes to attend a school in England called Spence Academy. Meets some very compelling girls while she's at school and ends up discovering a magical world with them that her mother might have been involved with as well. So it's partially about them trying to find out the secrets of the past and trying to get through their own present. They are very well written considering that they're young adult. I would argue that these would appeal to adults for sure. I mean, they appeal to me, but you know. The magic is really, really cool, and these are just super spooky in like a magical kind of way. There's no real there's no vampires or anything, but they just kind of remind me of fall and Halloween. I think that anyone who's read the Diviners would like these, even though I haven't actually read the Diviners series by Libba Bray yet. But these are awesome, and if you can add them to your reading list this fall, it would be the perfect time. Okay, my final recommendation for this video is the Tomorrow series by John Marsden. This is a Australian series. It's apparently huge there, like they all read it in junior high. It's super popular, but it's not popular here in Canada or the States that I know of. So there's 7 books. It starts with Tomorrow When the War Began, and then I'm not going to read all the rest of the titles. But the premise is that a group of rural Australian teenagers are out camping in the outback, and they see planes overhead. They're not sure exactly what happened. But when they try to leave their camping trip, they learn that an invading army has taken over Australia and taken everyone prisoner. And they seem to be the only people left free. So it's about what they decide to do, how they are trying to get their country back, and everything that happens along the way. It's obviously a pretty long story with 7 books, but they're very quick reads. The main character, Ellie, and her group of friends are super interesting to follow along. They always make me feel really inadequate because the teenagers in this book are like 15, 16, I think. Maybe they're older. I don't know. They're teenagers still. And they've grown up on farms and with all kinds of useful skills. So everything that they're doing, I'm like, I could not. If my country got invaded by a foreign army, I don't think that I would be as helpful as them. But it's super inspiring. It's a fascinating look at something that I've never really thought of as a story idea. Everyone in Australia loves them, and I think that you guys will too. So those are all my book recommendations for today. A little bit of a shorter video, but I just wanted to let you know some of the things that I think are a little bit underrated in the book community. So I hope that one of these sounds interesting to you. I tried to include some adult things as well as young adult, just to kind of have a better variety. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great day. Bye!